About a month or two ago, there was a man named Mike Rawl who addressed city council, and remarkably, he was actually listened to. And I believe it was Mike Rawl.
Second invite Mike Ross. Second invite Mike Ross. Second invite Mike Ross. And the topic is dangerous animals. Welcome.
Speaking here for children's safety also. On the 23rd, in a well-known neighborhood in University Park, we had several animals attacked by a Rhodesian razorback, which is a type of dog that hunts tigers, and there was also a pit bull, and it had attacked several animals and killed them, and I had the animal control come out.
So I looked up Mike Rawl's assertion that Rhodesian Ridgebacks. A Rhodesian Ridgeback is a dog breed developed in South Africa, and it has been known to hunt lions. African lion hound, African lion dog. So because of its ability to keep a lion at bay while awaiting its master's arrival to make the kill. So it helps to hunt lions, but they can't kill a lion itself. So Rhodesian Ridgeback, they do hunt lions.
And I had captured them, and I got trees and led them to my backyard and shut the gate because they tried to attack me too.
Mike Rawl captures a pit bull in this Rhodesian Ridgeback. So the Rhodesian Ridgeback and the pit bull, he didn't capture him. He did something. He led it into a pen and then was able to lock the door. So thank you, Mike Rawl, for saving the neighborhood.
And we have several business owners on our block, and it's very important that we keep our children safe. You know, we have about 14 to 20 children. Some of them are 10 months old. And the owners of the dogs live about 200 feet from a pickup where the school district picks up children in the morning.
University Park is over there by Colorado State University and Walking Stick Golf Course. So if you actually notice this map here, the Walking Stick Golf Course is huge. So many acres, so much land just sprawled all over the place so rich people can play and have lots of fun, right? Municipal-owned golf course. Is anybody screaming about socialism? What about the golf industry? Is that fair for the government of Pueblo to publicly subsidize 2 golf courses while all these other golf courses have to just use the free market? I mean, people want to sit there and bitch about municipal electricity. They want to bitch about municipal electricity or municipal Wi-Fi or municipal trash. Meanwhile, we got municipal golf courses, right? So we got socialism for the rich with Pedco and the golf courses. Anyways, by the Walking Stick Golf Course is University Park, where this...
And they also drop them off, and the dogs have been getting out all the time. There's been a lot of loose dogs in University Park, and it's just not right for the children. And on the block that I live on, none of the kids are allowed to go outside and play anymore.
Mike Rawl is saying that this isn't the first time that these dogs didn't just get out and they attacked somebody at University Park, but these dogs have been terrorizing the neighborhood for quite some time. They've been terrorizing the neighborhood, and there's kids that walk by, children. So are we going to love our predator beast more than our own kids?
And I have a gentleman next door on the right of me. I've lived in Pueblo for 50 years. I have the same phone number. And the gentleman on the right of me said that if nothing's done about it, they're going to move out.
Mike Rawl was a very serious man. He spoke very plain, very loud, very clear, and he was also emotional. So this was a remarkable testimony because it actually led to change.
They can't go for the evening walks no more. Nobody can do nothing. Everybody feels unsafe. I have a child that is attacked by a dog. I have one of them, I don't know if you know what a Rhodesian Ridgeback is, but it's a big dog in it. I seen it with my own eyes kill an animal within 10 seconds, ripped it in half. I could have got pictures and showed it, but we're not here to see bloody pictures. We're not here to see that. We're here to take care of this issue.
Rawl has lived in Pueblo City for many years, decades upon decades, and so now he's having this issue where these dogs are roaming the neighborhood they're getting out of the fence, and they attacked something. He said it killed him in 10 seconds, so it killed some animal. I don't know if it killed another dog or a bird or what it killed, but 10 seconds is all it took for a dog to kill.
This is disgusting. The animal shelter, the law enforcement, they're not doing their job. They didn't even quarantine the animal. They took it straight back to the owners and let it go on this fence where the fence could be blown down by wind. They could dig under the fence anytime they want, and it's not fair to nobody up there. And I'm also considering on moving. I have rental properties. I'm also a business owner. I've done work for Kirk Taylor. I painted businesses. I've done painting for Acorn Petroleum across the street from the Judicial Building over there where everybody puts gas. I've done a lot of upgrades to the community to make it a better place to live. You know?
Saying that this Rhodesian Ridgeback and the Pit Bull, it was behind a fence, but it was these dogs could easily get out. They got out all the time. They're terrorizing the neighborhood. He saw the dog kill an animal, small animal, within 10 seconds, and he's lived here forever. He's worked here. He's got business here. He's got rental property. He worked with Kirk Taylor, the sheriff. So he's saying that he had bloody pictures. If you want to see the bloody pictures, if you really want a good demonstration, if you really need the entire neighborhood to march on city council, you need to pay attention. And so I think all these things combined, him being strong, him speaking plainly, he wasn't yelling at them, but his voice is baritone. And so he, said this is what the problem is. This is what the problem is. And like I said, it's remarkable because a lot of times people will sit there and they'll speak, and then the city council just stands, sits on high, judging them as if...
It's just not right, and we need to have something done about this. It makes me want to cry. It's awful. It's awful. And so that's what I got to say. I could have brought the whole neighborhood, but I don't think I need to bring 40 people to prove a fact. It's just not right. And I don't know who my public representative is. The people that own the dogs now have been driving by my house and stalking me, which is not right. I haven't even gone to the police station and filed any charges or anything.
Rawl had called animal control, but animal control didn't do their job. They didn't do their job. They didn't quarantine the animal. They didn't do anything to the animal. The animals are killers. And so he's sitting there saying, we need to do something. He's saying that the people who own the dogs are stalking his house. So now they're driving by his house and they're, they continue the terrorism. It's terrorism. It's terrorism because it's terrorizing, and it's psychological terrorism. And so by, your kids can't walk around at night. The people can't go out for an evening walk. So no evening walks, no bike riders, no, children walk to school. So what kind of community do you want? You want everybody to be terrified of a bunch of stupid, shitty-ass fucking dogs? Or do you want a community where we're out and about and walking and talking and hanging out and just, hey, man, life's good. How are you doing? Right? Isn't that the...
So we need to take some kind of action on this. That's all I got to say, guys. Okay? We got 10-month-old kids that are playing out there. And it's not right. It's not right no more. It's not right. It's disgusting. Guys, my name is Mike Roth. I live on 12 Mayweather Court, Pueblo, Colorado, 81001, and I'm willing to help the community in any way. Thank you very much for listening to me. Okay? Thank you.
Immediately upon Mike Rawl's testimony, Steve Nolrocki orders Bob Schilling and the chief of police and either the city manager or one of the city manager's deputies to tackle this problem. So he called in the big dogs, the police chief, the city manager, the deputy city manager, and Bob Schilling, a councilman. So immediately upon the testimony, they said, we're going to do something about this. And then they did. So that doesn't happen all the time at city council. People will testify on and on and on, and then the city council will just say, thank you. And you could just tell, look on their faces, right? They just look down on the speaker. But for Mike Rawl, it was different. For Mike Rawl, it was different. His testimony was compelling. and they didn't want 40 people marching in the city council. They didn't want to see all those bloody pictures. There is a dog, and it's a couple blocks away, and it's an absolute psycho dog. It's a sandlot dog, and it's mean, and it's shitty, and it runs into the fence every time you walk past it. So it's banging on shit as you walk by. It's like, hey, there you are, come here, hey, come here. And so it's like banging on the fucking thing as soon as you walk by, and you're walking on the sidewalk peacefully during the day, and this fucking dog just, just snarls at you. And then it hits the fucking wall, and then the wall's flapping, so it seems like it could hit it hard enough and break out. And so what the fuck would you do if it broke out? I saw this a neighbor's dog who, they're always nervous about it running out because they're afraid it's going to attack somebody. And then one day the fence was open and there was a guy that was walking by. It runs out and it starts barking at him like it was going to attack him. And the guy had a book bag and he put it in front of him. And then I was like, God, that was quick thinking. But what the fuck? Are we just supposed to allow our dogs, psycho dogs, the dogs that are so fucking pissed off and mean and shitty, and the owners have raised them to be mean and shitty, and they're psychotic. So if they do break out, something's going to happen. If they do break out, somebody's going to get bit, some other animal is going to get ripped to shreds. And I've heard lots of times, there's lots of stories out there about dogs eating kids, killing little tiny dogs. There was this one lady, she went out with her little blind, deaf and dumb dog, and then it just got ripped up into shreds. And, just Google it. It's very common, and it happens all the time. So this is a huge issue. This is a huge issue. I mean, I could go on and on. I was riding a bicycle, like several blocks away, and I was just riding a bicycle, and I, drove past this one house, and this one shitty dog just starts chasing me down the fucking road. Well, I'm not going to be intimidated by anybody, so I believe that part of my frustration with this is I don't have any validation. People act like, oh, it's just a dog, they're animals, what do you expect? It's an animal, who gives a shit? So they just, give it all the love and all the excuses in the world. And so it almost sounds like when I tell people who don't empathize with me, it's like they're saying, we don't give a shit if a dog bites you. We don't care. We don't care if a dog gives you rabies. We don't give a damn. And you're going to protect this shitty psycho sandlot dog that's, might have rabies, right? Who the fuck knows? You're going to defend a fucking shitty psycho sandlot dog. And, ultimately, I guess I do understand the law enough that if the dog does bite you, then you can, defend yourself. But call the law right after it happens, because I'm sure, the owners won't be happy. But you had a psycho fucking dog, you piece of shit. And those psycho dogs kind of do show me, that the owners are probably assholes. They're probably assholes. And we don't need has a stand your ground law, so if somebody is coming towards you, you don't have a duty to retreat. But if a little tiny mean shitty psycho dog starts coming towards me, I'm supposed to run away? I mean, this is a moral conundrum. What would you do? What would you do if it was to happen to you? I mean, it was snipping at my ankles like it was trying to bite me. And it's a little tiny dog, so it's kind of like, dog, I can kick your ass. I mean, there's no question about this. And so now the question is, do I want to do that? So now I have to, am I going to be intimidated? Am I going to be scared? Who the fuck would allow their dog to run out of the yard and chase people like that? These are shitty fucking people, and they should lose their house. They should be thrown behind bars. If that dog bites somebody, then the charges should go right on that owner. I mean, I swear to God, these dogs have killed children. So you motherfuckers want to love your goddamn dogs so fucking much. And there's a guy out there that he says, see, animals are so much better than people. Yeah, right. So if your dog hurts my fucking, there's some dogs that are psycho dogs, but they seem like they're, manageable. But even then, fuck the psycho dogs. Fuck the psycho dogs and fuck the owners that raise these shitty psycho dogs. Because you don't need that. If you're, there's a man that was shot right here in my alley, right behind where I live. And there's a dog that barks, all throughout the night. Not all throughout the night. It's selective. It barks when it hears people walking, when they hear gravel being shuffled around. That's when it barks. And that's okay. During the night when they got shot, right, you're barking at people that are walking by at night. That's totally fine with me. But during the day, it's almost like people have no consideration of other people. They don't respect anybody else. I had, right across the way, right across the street, there was these two dogs, and they would bark at every and anybody that walked by. And then the owners of the dog would sit on the porch and just, be proud. sit on high, sit on their porch, and they would just sit there and watch this dog. Their two dogs bark at children, bark at passersby, bark at people, 2 or 3 blocks down the road. It didn't matter. If these dogs saw something moving, they would just bark and go fucking crazy. And so, just being human, just being an aware person, if you're walking by something, a creature that's saying, "Rrr," that's barking at you, essentially threatening you, I'm going to bite you. I'm going to bite your fucking neck. I'm going to kill you. That's what these mean, shitty dogs are doing. And so these people would be sitting on high on their porch as people walk by, children even, elderly people, people going for walks, not criminals. Not people, snooping about. People just walking through, just fucking walking. They're just fucking walking. And they need to be intimidated. They need to be threatened. If I was to sit outside my porch and just threaten every single motherfucker that would walk by, I guarantee you'd have a problem with that. But we allow the dogs. What I'm going to do, now that just talking to myself, I've come to some sort of resolution. I'm going to do something. I'm not going to let anybody attack me. I'm not going to let anybody, intimidate me to do anything differently. So if I have to, defend myself, that's what I'm going to do. So instead of being worried about it, like, oh my God, what will people think? Fuck you. You want your dog to fucking bite me? Fuck you. As soon as your dog bites me, as soon as your dog comes at me like it's going to do something, then I'm going to do something because fuck you. Fuck you. You're going to send a fucking threatening piece of shit dog that might have fucking rabies and shit just because I'm walking by? Because I was bicycling. That one house I was bicycling. So I wasn't loitering. I wasn't hanging around. I'm going straight through. And as soon as it has noticed me or saw me, it fucking runs right out of the yard. It runs out of the yard. And then there was, the owners wasn't around, but as soon as it thought that the owner was coming, then it fucking runs away. So what the hell? Does the owner even know this shit? So, this go talk about the dogs across the street. I think eventually they noticed it because every time I would walk out my door, they would start barking at me. Oh my God, there's a person that lives in the house. Let's bark at that person. You're not guarding anybody. You're barking at the residents. You're barking at the peace. 90 to 95% of the residents in Pueblo City are good, wholesome people. So if you have a dog that just barks at any and everybody, you're the asshole. You're the shitty person, and you're putting all that bad energy out into the fucking world. And it's bullshit. Now, the dogs across the street, I would actually say they were a decent balance, and I'll tell you why. So when I went out there, essentially I just handled my business. So as soon as I walk outside, I'm, going to my car to get something. The dogs are, barking up a goddamn storm. I would be like, fuck you. Nah, fuck you. I'm in my yard. What the fuck? This is my house, and you're going to bark at me like what? I'm doing something wrong? And then I do feel the need to, if I talk to dogs, to say it loud enough so everybody else knows what the hell is going on. Weed eating behind my house, and when I was weed eating behind my house, I went ahead and took care of the parking lot next to me. I went ahead and weed eated the alley. Nobody took care of this alley. This alley looks horrible. This is the memorial that we've given to Ricky Munez. This is a memorial. A shit ton of goat heads and a dark alley with lots of fucking weeds and nobody tending to it, nobody giving a damn. So when I was out there, when I was pulling it, okay, so eventually when you have a weed eater, hell, the dogs will bark, themselves to death, and they can't do shit about it. So that's one of the best defenses, right? I'm working here, but when I went out there first, I'm pulling weeds. And so I was pulling them, trying to pull all the ones that I could pull out, and this shitty dog is just fucking barking at me like a fucking psycho, and it's like, I'm back here pulling fucking weeds. Can I clean the neighborhood up? Is that acceptable? Can I clean the fucking neighborhood up? Can I clean up the alley behind my house? Please, dog. Please, dog. I swear to God that it is terrorizing me. I swear, everybody. I'm a huge advocate of free speech, and ultimately, if the dog bites you, that is a lawsuit. That is criminal charges. So if that's the route that we want to go to, but now it's a big fucking deal. Why don't you just not have psycho dogs? I'm against assault. I'm against rape. I'm against murder. I'm against stealing. But these motherfuckers are totally for violence against anybody and everybody. And every person that walks by, you just going to let your dog just fucking bark, crazily at them? What the fuck? What the fuck? That's such bullshit. It's bullshit because it's not being considerate of others. 90 to 95% are not bad people. If you're allowing them to bark at every single fucking person, it's because you're a piece of shit and you're an asshole. So when I started cussing at the dog, when I started saying, fuck you, dog, right? I'm just doing my thing here. I'm in my own fucking yard. Fuck you. Eventually the owners, they were nervous about it, like, oh my God, he's barking back, right? So it's weird to hear a man bark back, but a dog barking at innocent people, that's totally fine. But eventually they would quiet the dogs. They would quiet the dogs. Hey, don't bark at him. Just need to be considerate. They need to respect others. These are the same people that won't let you in when you're trying to merge, right? There's 3 other fucking lanes, but they're going to stay in the slow lane, and they're going to make sure you don't get into the fucking lane. There's 3 other goddamn lanes. They saw you there, but they just don't give a shit. Fuck you. I'm going to drive right in my lane, and I don't care if I push an entire school bus of children off the side of the road just because of what reason? Because you're an inconsiderate prick, a disrespectful, inconsiderate prick. So I liked the thing that I liked with the dogs was eventually we got to a point where the owners had quieted them down when it come to me. And so, but you know, about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they'd let the dogs run about and they would just bark at anything and everything. Now, sometimes I also notice this. I think that the dogs are actually a good balance because most of the time they were pretty quiet when the owners got on them. But if the owners allowed them to carry on, you know, a shitstorm, they would allow them to do that. And that's bullshit. Noticed that the dogs would carry on, you know, just bark real crazy whenever they saw a female dog or a dog that looked like it was loved and was, you know, nice and whatever, looked female-ish. And so if it saw another dog, it would start barking up a storm, but not because of meanness. It's saying, look at me, look at me. It's saying hello. And so I could actually determine, I could tell the difference between when the dogs was trying to get, you know, another dog's attention versus them just barking meanly at anybody and everybody. And so, you know, that's just, I think it's just being considerate of others. So if I'm sitting on the porch and I'm letting my dogs run around and I'm letting my dogs bark at your kids that are walking by, I'm the asshole. I would never do that, but that's what some people do. And so I think all we got to do is have a balance between, you know, we don't need fucking psycho dogs. And if you want your dog to be protective, then you don't want it to be, you know, harmless, fluffy. We just need to find a balance. And that's really most things. We need to find balance. Living in Grundy, Virginia, I couldn't sleep at all because these dogs would just bark all night. And the owner was an absentee landlord, so there was an empty house, and he had set these dogs there, I guess, to protect the house, but they weren't protecting the house. They just would bark all fucking night. I couldn't get any sleep. I couldn't think about anything else. So they was in my fucking head. And if I had a party, you know, 2 in the morning, the cops would definitely shut me down. So I called the police when it was about 2 or 3 in the morning. I was like, I can't go to sleep. Can you do something about this? So he goes up and he talks to, you know, somebody who knew somebody or some shit. Then he just leaves. And he didn't take care of the situation. So I fucking moved. I mean, to have a peace of mind, to have security, to have your own thoughts. Am I allowed to think my own thoughts, dogs? So it seems like the police have more respect for dogs than they do human beings. And I think a lot of humans are like that. A lot of people are like that. They respect animals, but they don't respect people. It's obvious. That Sandlot dog is a fucking psycho dog. My dogs across, you know, my neighbor's dogs, they're not there anymore, but they were a balance. They could use a balance when they were actually paying attention. So I think most of the time until, you know, I came around, maybe they just thought everybody loved it. Oh, look at my dogs. They're barking a storm at them kids. God, we are such good people. No, you're not a good person. You're actually a really shitty person. And, you know, go ahead and interpret the language, right? I told you when those dogs saw a female dog, they're saying, hi, hello. So the barking was just saying, look at me, I'm over here. Hey, can you see me? Can you see me? I'm excited about you. You're here. Oh, my God, what am I going to do? I can tell. You can tell the tone. But then another dog, when they're like, that motherfucker wants to kill you. That motherfucker is threatening you. He's saying, I want to bite your fucking throat off. I want you to die. That's threat. Even though the police in Grundy, Virginia respected the dogs, you know, all night, if I was to stand outside that cop's, you know, house and just bark all night, you know, just threatening the entire world, right? Ruff, 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 I'm going to get you all. I'm going to get you all. He would do something about it. But for some reason, the dogs were allowed to keep me up all night, right? I'm just one individual, and really the way it was situated, I was the only person, you know, I'm sure there was other people that heard this shit, but the way that it was on the side of the house, so anybody on the opposite side of the house wouldn't hear it. So if you were to interpret their barks, it's threatening. It's threatening. I'm going to rip your fucking throat out. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to bite you. I want to do you harm. I want to hurt you. That's what these dogs are saying. And so is that acceptable behavior? I'm all about free speech, but you can't go around threatening people. Because you could do it, right? I mean, you said it. It's in your head. I don't hate dogs. I love dogs. I love life. I love, you know, the other part of the equation. My landlord says that he wants a $200 deposit if I want a dog here, a $200 deposit. So, and it's a non-refundable deposit. So what kind of deposit is that? That's not a deposit. It's like, give me $200 if you want a dog. And he just said because he don't want to have to clean up all the, shit afterwards. And so I understand that, but that seems to be, if you don't want me standing out there cussing at your dog because that sounds, that seems crazy, then I'm going to get a shitty dog and I'm just going to aim it towards you. And then now I've joined in the foray, right? Now I got a shitty dog. You got a shitty dog. We all got shitty dogs. So when your shitty dog barks over at me, my shitty dog barks back at you. Now it's acceptable, right? Now the dogs are threatening each other. That's okay. But I just don't understand when cops go into a house when they're, investigating this or that, and there's just a shitty, vicious dog that just, the dog's a threat. The dog is a threat, and it's barking at them. And if the dog lunges forward, then the cop, depending on the situation, they got a right to defend themselves. Who would deny a person's right to defend themselves? So when a cop goes in there and they shoot the dog, yeah, that's sad. It's a family pet and stuff, but it wasn't trained, and yeah, it's a threat, right? So the dog recognizes the police officer as a threat, and so it's just, sort of doing its dog duty. It's just living its, animal life. But I understand it. It makes sense. So the cop goes in there, the dog's threatening them, and they feel like, their person or their life is at stake. They shoot the dog. So it sucks. It's horrible, but I can understand it. I understand it. And so, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt any dogs. I don't go around hurting people. To just stand outside my fence, I'm in my own yard, and I got freedom of speech, right? And I just threatened anybody that walked by, hey, I'm going to rip out your throat, and I'm going to bite you. I'm going to bite you. I'm going to hurt you real bad. No, I'm going to hurt you. And I just start growling at people, and, maybe I don't even put it into words. Maybe I just growl at everybody. Get out of here. Get out of here, right? And just start yelling at people. I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to get arrested for terroristic threatening, but we're going to allow dogs to do that, and we're not going to say a goddamn thing? That's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. I think that there should be some kind of laws to do this, and there should be a way to stop people from having these fucking shitty dogs that bark at anybody and everybody. At nighttime, okay, fine. Bark at any goddamn noise you want to fucking hear. During the day, when we're all out and about, come on, man. We need to be able to be free. I was just going, for a walk, for a bike ride, and now it's like, I don't even know if I want to go for a walk anymore. I don't even know if I want to go for a bike ride. Is that what you're trying to do? You're not protecting it. Notice this thing. Whenever shitty dogs who's got shitty owners who got psycho dogs, if the psycho dog was to bark at them, then they wouldn't take it, right? They would beat the shit out of the dog. They would yell at the dog. They would not take the slightest bit of disrespect from their dog. But then they allow the dog to disrespect the entire neighborhood. Kids, elderly people, families walking by. I want a world where we can go for a bike ride. I want a world where we can go for walks, and that's okay. And we don't have to go past yards that people are just threatening anybody and everybody. So, the dogs that say hello, hello. How you doing, dogs? So, part of me, I'm a nice guy. So, if you allowed me to pet your dog, I would show your dog some love. And, what's the harm in that? The only thing I guess I could see with that is if you don't know people and then they're being cozy with their dog, then they, might get in your house. And since the dog is, but I guess that's the point, is sort of we need to get to know each other, because I would never hurt anybody. I wouldn't hurt anybody. I wouldn't rob, rape, the worst things, right? Murder, rape, rob, steal, violence. But they're letting their dog be, violent fucking thugs. And if they're just barking at anything and everything, like sometimes it's like it doesn't even make sense. It's almost like it's the humans that the dogs are barking at. I got a shit ton of birds that are eating all my grass seed. Dog doesn't say a goddamn word, but as soon as I walk outside, all of a sudden, I'm the biggest, worst. I mean, I'm in my own fucking yard. I'm getting barked at in my own fucking yard. You're the asshole. You let your dogs do that, that makes you the asshole. And fuck you, asshole. You shouldn't, assume because you got a dog that stop all intruders. I've known people that had dogs that got robbed. And, I'm not going to hurt anybody, but you got a shitty asshole dog that just terrorizes the damn neighborhood. And then I heard that, somebody did something to you. I don't feel bad. You're an asshole, so fuck you. But that's the thing. You're putting out this negative fucking energy, and, I don't want to hurt anybody, but now because you're an asshole, you're a piece of shit, and you're sitting there allowing them motherfuckers to, bark incessantly, nonstop at humans, and then what? We're just supposed to sit there and take it? Fuck you. Fuck you. I think everybody should. There was a guy outside. He was about 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But he was just walking home, and this dog just started going fucking crazy. And then he started, stomping around, just kind of, pestering it, but he kept on walking. That's bullshit. I recognize it's not a guard dog. You're not protecting anything. All you're doing is terrorizing the entire fucking neighborhood, and that's bullshit. If we're actually going to have a safer community, then we need to get out and about and walk around and bike around and have evening walks and go for family walks and shit. We need to be able to do that. We need to be able to do that. If we can't do that, then that's, God, everybody's just going to be in their goddamn house scared to death, and then we'll all have to have shitty dogs. So that seems to be the direction. Are we all going to have just a bunch of shitty dogs and just be alienated from each other, terrified, or are we going to, get out and about? If we're going to get out and about, which is my direction, that's what I would like to have, then we need to have considerate dogs. We need to have considerate dogs. During the daytime, the people are walking by, don't even fucking bark at them. Don't even say a word to them. Let them keep going, right? Why stop them from their journey? They're trying to go this way. Now you're fucking threatening them. Now they got to be like, well, shit, do I need to fucking say something to this? You'll never get to the store if you fight with every single fucking dog that barks at you. But like I said, I don't hate dogs at all. Au contraire, I kind of hate other people's dogs who treat them, who make them vicious. I mean, that poor Sandlot dog, that poor psycho dog, I actually made a connection with it. It pushed up against the fence and it was snarling at me, but I just stared right at it into its eyes, and I don't know if it was intimidating or if it made a connection with me, kind of like, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. And it backed off. So I made a connection with the dog by just looking at it. So it was a mean, vicious Sandlot dog. It don't know what the hell's going on outside, right? So it's hitting up against the wall, and it was only a moment, I probably personified the whole thing. So it probably didn't, it probably looked at me like, what the hell are you looking at? Right? He had to recharge himself. For a moment, he saw some humanity, but then he was like, wait a second, right? So I made a connection with the very vicious, mean Sandlot dog. So these psycho dogs have, some goodness in them, everything. Dogs aren't foolproof ways to stop people from burglarizing your house. Like I said, there was a person that got shot right behind my house. There was a person spray painting on the wall. He said, get the hell out of the way. And then he got shot and killed for that within a span of seconds, a few seconds. What would a dog have done differently? Would it have changed anything? Was that dog around? So it doesn't, having a dog doesn't guarantee that you won't be burglarized. So, I understand that it's another threshold. It's an extra level of security, and we need that security. But if you're putting out a bad vibe, a bad energy out into the world, I think assholes can create the criminals. So why can't we just be decent to one another, right? As a man, it feels like I always have to be ready to fight any place at any time, but why can't I just smile? Why can't the world just fall in love with my smile and just treat me the way that I would treat you? The people who say, well, dogs, they got a sense about things. You're an asshole. You're a piece of shit. And you just provoke people until eventually, we all have an animal side to us. So you want to see if people will take your fucking bullshit? That guy that put his backpack out in front of him, should he have not have done that? Should he have let the fucking dog bite him? I think some people might say, yeah. If you're the owner of the dog, yeah, of course, who gives a shit? But you're going to get fucked, and especially if there's witnesses and shit. So there's been reports of dogs breaking out of the yard and killing children. It's happened many times. Many times. How the fuck are you going to feel when it kills a 3-year-old kid? And these people that act like dogs are good and humans are bad, that's a shitty, shitty mentality. That's the reason why there's, murders happen. That's why we got wars all over the world. That's why we have, this is bullshit. And then there's people probably eat cheeseburgers and hot dogs and they eat animals. I believe that life is precious, and I think human beings, they could be as mean and shitty, as a pit bull, but they could also be sweet and delicate as Fluffy the dog. So which one do you want? Do you want to be completely harmless when you're totally innocuous, right? You just have no say-so whatsoever? Do you want to be a vicious psycho dog where you just lost your fucking mind and you're just a mean fucking beast? I see people like that, both of those people, right? The ones who are way too soft and the ones who are way too hard. They have no feelings. One that has too many feelings and can never, defend anybody. So we need to save humanity. I believe that life is precious. Human life is more important than animal life. I do think that. So humans, people want to save the animals. We haven't even saved ourselves yet. And we're going to end up wiping ourselves out. There was that one South Park episode where all the animal lovers got, I like my liberal friends, I like my vegan friends, I like my, friends that like animals and respect animal rights. I'm not against that whatsoever. I think actually that's how we need to think about people. So that love and kindness that you feel for another living creature also feel for humans. But I think people just fall in love with their pets, right? They feel superior to them. The dogs just idolize them like they're the greatest thing in the world. And that's good. That gives you, some validation, and that's good for your spirit. But it's a friend slave. It's a friend slave. And so until we can save humanity, until we start fighting for humanity, it just seems like we're jumping, jumping the shark, right? We're jumping the shark. We need to save humanity first. Humanity needs to be saved first. And then we can give a shit about the animals. But if we're going to say that animals are more important than humans, you're fucked up, man. You are so fucked up, it's not even funny. And I bet you the people that say that humans are those, I know the person that had said that humans are shittier than animals, right? You act like there's a spirit. Oh, they just know. Dogs just know. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're barking at anything and everything, and you're a piece of shit. And then what? When they get mad at being threatened, who the fuck is going to sit there and just say, I'm growling at you, and then you're just going to walk by, nobody's going to say nothing, huh? No, I'm pretty sure somebody should say something, and I would be in the wrong. I'm growling at you, I'm threatening you, I'm telling you I'm going to rip out your throat, and I'm going to bite you and shit. Yeah, somebody needs to say something to me. And just like the dogs, somebody needs to say something to the dogs. So I don't believe this shit. I know that person that said it was a hypocrite. He eats cheeseburgers, he eats bacon and ham and sausage. He eats animals. So he wants to say that animals are better than humans. Well, I see the respect that you show animals. You're eating the fucking animals. So if you respect animals more than people, you want to eat people too. I say this about psycho dogs. So the psycho dogs, it's not their fault, right? They're just acting like an animal. They're doing, as God had made them. And then the people are forming them. They're making them mean, right? Making them mean to be good guard dogs. So they're like, yeah, growl at that person, growl at everybody. So I think that actually says more about the owner than it does the dog. The dog breaks out and it bites somebody or it kills a child. No question in my mind what we need to do with that dog. But I do feel a little bit sad about it because it wasn't its fault. It was the owner's fault. The owner made this vicious psycho dog, just like with abusive parents. Abusive parents create the vicious psycho children. And then the vicious psycho children goes out and harms somebody, and nobody's going to feel bad about, putting that person behind jail or putting that dog down, even though, it wasn't its fault. It wasn't its fault. The owners, that's dog abuse. That's dog abuse. And I don't know if there's a way to regulate that. There's a way to regulate all of this. Really, if we all were just considerate, but people just don't act the way that they're supposed to act, right? The reason why they got the dogs is because they're afraid of burglars and shit. And so people don't act right. People don't act how they're supposed to act. And so that's the reason why they make these vicious, shitty guard dogs, but they made them fucking mean. They made them barbaric. They made them savage. And now they just killed a kid. They just killed a kid. So you're damn right, the owners deserve whatever crime that dog commits. So if it kills a kid, I think you should be looking at some, life in prison. You should be looking at life in prison. If not, maybe eye for an eye. Your dog killed a child. You're a piece of shit. And is that what we're going to wait on? We're going to love our animals so goddamn much, we're going to wait for them to kill a human? And then what, act appalled? Oh my God. Come on now. It's easy to tell if somebody's being an intruder, if somebody's just a passerby. Tell it to shut up. Be respectful. If somebody's just walking by, somebody's walking with their dog, somebody's bike riding, the kids walk to school. So if the kids are walking to school and your dog is being a shithead to the fucking kids, tell your damn dog to shut the fuck up. And if you don't tell your dog to shut the fuck up, then those people should tell your dog to shut the fuck up, and you should just listen to it. You want to escalate this thing? You're the one putting out the bad energy. You're the one with an asshole threatening dog. I think it's a crime. I think it's a crime. A fucking dog is viciously growling at you for walking by. It's a public sidewalk. What the fuck? You wouldn't accept that shit from a human. Human couldn't sit there and threaten, anybody that walks by, but we're going to allow the dogs to do that. And if the dog escapes, the crime that they commit should be put on the owner. That dog bites somebody, that owner goes to jail. And I'd like for them to lose their goddamn house because you knew it was
available or in a fund already. This is what we call our excessive fines fund. So any fines that the court collects that are in excess of $300 go into this fund and are to be used for graffiti removal and other police enforcement activities. And historically, they've only been used for graffiti removal. And now we have been expanding our alternative sentencing programs to include a community garden, some other things. And so the court would like to be able to use these funds to help fund some of these other programs, some of these other juvenile and adult diversion programs. And so this is just asking council to define what it means to be other enforcement activities to include all of the alternative sentencing that's available to the court under the present code.
And that concludes your report?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. All right, council, this is a hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of this ordinance? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, the hearing is closed and ask for a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion made second. Any discussion? Seeing none, proceed with the action. And it's unanimous. All right, Madam Clerk, R2.
Public hearing for an ordinance establishing 2018 Pueblo Rural Transportation Planning Project and budgeting and appropriating funds in the amount of $7,400 for said project. Introduced August 14, 2017 by Councilman Bob Schilling.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, this is a hearing for a staff report.
Yes, Mr. President, Scott Hudson with the Planning Community Development
Welcome,
Department.
Scott.
This is an ordinance that budgets and appropriates $7,400 of funds that are received by the Pueblo Area Council of Governments from the Colorado Department of Transportation to be used for rural transportation.